and going live today. It is September 22nd, 2025. A few things that have happened to prompt me to want to go live to kind of talk with you all, chat with you all, and just get some feedback and start a dialogue. First things first, I know that it's football season. Two Peas and a Bong has been discussing football as of lately. Um, But this isn't a football conversation. This is a basketball conversation. And because it's a basketball conversation and basketball isn't really in season, I didn't want to go on the show and do this. I just would rather go live. What up, Alf? How you doing? Um, so first things first. Today, September 22nd, is the first official day of NCAA basketball practice. So for those of you that don't know, I am a father. In addition to the podcast, I do have two sons that do play basketball collegiately. So this is something that I kind of follow. So teams are gearing up, to start their season. They're doing practice before this, but it was restricted, certain amount of time per day, per week that they could be in the gym with coaching. Now it's unlimited. Now you'll have some teams that are practicing anywhere from an hour and a half to 3 hours. Now after that hour and a half, they may do 45 minutes of some individual skill work. Um, and then after that, they go on about their day. And you have some coaches that are old school. Um, they may go 3 hours and there may not be any skill work. The skill work is you got to get back in there and get it done yourself. Some schools, aren't fortunate enough to have the grad assistants and the trainers. Well, not trainers, but the basically the student trainers to help rebound and help facilitate drills for the players. But I digress. Before I go into this, there was a bombshell dropped um, in the world of the NCAA men's college basketball. Uh, there's a team, I don't know if anyone is familiar with Auburn, the University of Auburn, right? In Alabama, an SEC school, um, had a successful year last year, spent some time as the number one team in the country at one point. Had a player that finished out last year. He's now in the NBA, Janai Broom, who was runner up to Cooper Flag and being player of the year, was consensus first team All American last year. So, they lost him, but we're bringing back some pieces and had a very good recruiting class. But their coach, Bruce Pearl, Bruce Pearl, who is the head coach for the University of Auburn, abruptly decided to step down from coaching. Um, Very, very interesting. You know, this just happened today. Like he's just decided to step down. Um, and they're supposed to be competitive today. I mean, not excuse me, not today. They're supposed to be competitive this year. They're supposed to be a tough team. Um, I venture to say a top 10 team, but he stepped down, and the new head coach that is succeeding him will succeed, not succeeding, seeding him will be his son. So just very, very interesting. The timing of everything. Um, I look at it from the standpoint of the players. You recruited some players, and those players, you know, did you tell those players initially that you were thinking about stepping down? Did they know and they had to keep it kind of hush hush? Or was this something where they're like, we're going to be playing for Bruce Pearl and they're hit with the bombshell as well? Like, so, you know, that's kind of the thing. One of the things I'm thinking about is how that whole thing is going to work out. And then I think it's because the coach stepped down and they're getting a new head coach. I think they have 30 days to where they can enter the transfer portal if they decide to go elsewhere. But given this time of the year, we are in September, classes have started. I don't know what the eligibility would look like if they chose to go elsewhere, transfer. Um, I think it would be a NIL nightmare trying to figure out the money, the logistics of the money, if how much the player is going to get paid at that school, and if they chose to go to another school. But just I think it's a bunch of interesting dynamics. Let me go to the comment. I see Alf said something. Will they be able to play with the transfer happening after school started? I don't know. I think in the event that the coach has stepped down this late, I would think that they probably could because they're it's still before the season started and they could get enrolled and get situated before the actual season started. You'd be going to class and everything else full time. You'd be a full time student, or if you're a grad transfer, you're pretty much just taking one class. But that would be interesting. That is something interesting. I don't know anybody personally that left this late. Um, Let me see. Alf said something else. If they typically won't be able to, they should be given exemption, especially if they didn't know he was thinking about resignation. Exactly. That's what I would say. That's why I said I would think that they would be eligible immediately because they're given a 30-day transfer grace period, which nobody else is able to transfer at this point. So I think given the 30-day situation, they would still be eligible this particular school year. Um, I think it's once the season starts, then they would not be able to do that. But yeah, very interesting perspective, Alf. Um, but yeah, so Bruce Pearl. But one of the things I thought was interesting is the timing in which he chose to resign. Um, he's resigned with, I believe it's 45 days until the season starts, or 43 days until the season starts. So Auburn isn't really in a position to go look for another head coach. It's because he stepped down so late, essentially it's went to his son who was the associate head coach. So, if this was what Bruce Pearl was doing and it wasn't written in the contract, like after I step down from Auburn, my son will be my successor. If that wasn't written in the contract of Auburn and Auburn wasn't, honoring it or something like that, well, shout out to Bruce Pearl for setting it up to where his son now has the opportunity to be an NCAA head coach at a really, really good school. You know, most situations don't end up like this. Your first head coaching job, you don't get a potential top 10 team in the best conference in college basketball. But, yeah, it's pretty interesting. And I was listening to some of the different individuals that had talked to Bruce Pearl because they were weighing in on their thoughts and what had happened. And one thing that was said was that Bruce Pearl has been thinking about getting into politics and running for Senate. And so, don't be surprised if Bruce Pearl at the age of 64 is a senator in the next couple of years. Because that is something that seems to be near and dear to his heart. But yeah, so Wanted to talk about that first. If you have any thoughts, comments, questions, any team that you think is gonna be good this year, who do you think's gonna make it to the Final Four? Weigh in on your thoughts, and would love to answer them and engage a little bit. As for my sons, I have not talked to them about the first day of practice, so I still do not know. Um, Maybe I talked to them today. I'm not sure. Might sneak a text in, but yeah, um, first day of practice. So yeah, I've seen some of the teams post their stuff on Twitter, and yeah, interesting. But the other thing that I want to talk about, um, if you guys haven't liked, shared, subscribed to our page, Two Peas and a Bong, you know, hey, shout out to Al. I feel, hey, yeah, we rooting for them Lobos this year. We rooting for them Lobos, absolutely. Um, I'll get out to a couple of the games this year. Some of the home games, some of the road games. I'll definitely be tapped in. The ones I don't go to, I'll be watching on TV. I also have a son that's in high school, and I have a son that just started middle school, so I got to help them with their journey as well. So can't make it to all the games, but I will make it to some. And yeah, I'll be tapped in. But another thing that happened, and as I was saying, like, share, subscribe, Two Peas in a Bong. We do have a Discord. You can get into the Discord and get involved in some of the conversation. We don't only talk about uh, basketball or football. We talk about other stuff. We talk about combat sports. Um, we talk about college sports. We just have a lunchroom. We have a lunch table discussion where different topics and different things are being discussed, whether it's social issues, whatever it is. We discuss that stuff in the Discord. So please, I urge you all to hop on over to that Discord and yeah, just talk to us, vibe with us. But the other thing that I want to talk about, one of our moderators in the Discord, shout out to Alf, put something in the Discord about Fred Van Fleet from the Houston Rockets, starting point guard. Says that he's got a potentially season-ending injury, a torn ACL. So, the interesting thing about this is, they just made the move. They got KD. Um, Dorian Finney-Smith from the Lakers just came over there, and team is starting to come together. They got some wings, they got some bigs. Clint Capella is back. Steven Adams, Sangoon. They're loaded at the big spot. They got the wings. They got some athletes. They lost that point guard. So Alf, you're saying it. I was trying to get to it and set the stage, but there's a guy out there who I'm sure if his phone hasn't rang yet, it should be ringing. And that is Russell Westbrook. There is going to be a reunion between KD and Russell Westbrook in Houston. It only seems right. There were you had Malcolm Brogdon, who was a free agent. He's went to New York. You had Chris Paul, who was a free agent. He's back. He came back to the Clippers. Um, you know, Russell Westbrook is still out there as a free agent. You also have Pat Beverly, um, but I think right now I take Russell Westbrook ahead of Pat Beverly as my starting point guard. You know, no disrespect to the other point guards that they have on the roster of Houston's roster. You got some young guys. You got Aaron Holiday. You got Reed Shepard. I don't know if I would call Reed Shepard a point guard or just a smaller two guard, but you do have them. But they haven't been in the situation of really leading a team. And I think it would be a lot of pressure put on them to lead this particular team where it's like championship or bust. I think that's a lot to put them in that position right now. But you got Russell Westbrook that's available, and you can get him on a bargain deal. You can pay Russ, you might be able to pay Russ $1 million a year. And one thing you know about Russ, he's going to play hard. He's going to play with energy. And I believe that he would fit the mentality and the mindset of an Ime Udoka in the way that he coaches. You know, Udoka is like a gritty, hard-nosed, tough kind of coach. And Russell Westbrook is a hard-nosed, physical, tough type of player. Russ will play defense. You know, everyone talks about the shooting. This is what I say about Russ with shooting. Um, you got KD. He'll get the ball to KD. Russ is going to get the ball to all the right people, and he's not going to force the shot. He's not going to force his offense. So, you know, I'm not worried if Russ shoots 30% from three. If he shoots 25% from three, he's not going to take that many threes. Russ will be up, but Russ is going to get to his spots, and Russ is going to get other people involved. Going to play hard, going to play defense. You know, this is a team that wants to run and get up and down. That's what Russ wants to do. So I think that this is the fit. I want to go to some of the comments, see what's being said. He said, one of the people said, Russ, yeah, it feels like it's inevitable now. It says that he's going to take about 5 threes a game and make one. That would be 20%. I don't think he's going to take 5 threes. You know, and it may be 3. I think he may take 3. He may make 1 out of 3. That's 33%. I don't think that that's killing you. And then one other thing said, bringing in Pat Bev is just asking for Trae Young to put up 50 on your head in that moment. Talking about the Pat Bev and Trae Young beef. That's funny. And I've seen some of the analytics where it's showing that Trae Young scored the most points on Patrick Beverly, which is the stuff, the analytics and the stuff that they come up with, man, is just, it's funny, man. I don't think Trae Young will put up 50 on them though. Not with the way that their team is constructed. There's too many athletic wings that you can run at him to make life very, very difficult. One of them being Amen Thompson. Amen Thompson, athletic, a problem, lengthy, can move his feet. You know, you still got Dorian Finney-Smith. You still got Tari Eason. Like they got a lot of guys, man. They got a lot. So I think it's only right that they bring in a Russell Westbrook. At least give him a call. Like, Russ, if your phone isn't ringing, it should be ringing soon. And, you know, Houston front office, man, go and call that man. You know, best recovery wishes to Fred VanVleet. This is an unfortunate situation. So, you know, don't want it to seem like I'm demeaning or belittling what happened to Fred VanVleet, because that is devastating. That is some devastating news. That is, I know that that's not something that Houston was anticipating would happen. I believe in the summer it was Van Fleet and was working out with Ime Udoka. They were doing some boxing and different things like that. So I know that they have a relationship, and you want your head coach and your point guard to have that relationship and that kind of bond and that kind of connection. So it seemed like the two of them were locked in. You look at Van Fleet in the playoffs this past year, he was one of the more consistent players. Hit some big shots against the Golden State Warriors. Just needed a little bit more help from some of the players around him, and it seemed like the front office shared that same sentiment, and so they went into the direction of trying to put together a roster that complemented what Ime Udoka was looking for, and could also help with Fred Van Fleet, or put Van Fleet more in a situation to where he's a facilitator and he's taking a back seat to some of the other players doing the scoring. So yeah, very, very unfortunate thing. But as I said, I just wanted to hop on here real quick, just kind of discuss this, throw this out there. I know that it's football season. We will be back on tonight. We will discuss some football. But for now, just wanted to talk about basketball a little bit and tap in with the people. So, it's your boy KP. If y'all have any questions, any thoughts, any comments, and you missed me on this live, go in the comment section and make some comments. Like, share, subscribe, tell a friend, tell a neighbor. Tell somebody that you don't like and you like debating with. Go on, tap into the show. And yeah, I'll do my best to answer the questions and get back to you. But as always, I'll see you all again. It's your boy KP with two P's in a bong, and we out.